Is ancient India overrated? Every day we hear from the leftists, from the Stalinists, from the foreigners, from the Christians that ancient India's achievements are overrated. There is nothing very great to their credit. I thought that I need to analyze this question through scientific, credible, and believable evidence. Then I came across an article written by a Chinese professor, P.L. Huide, from the University of Canada. In this article, he has analyzed the achievements of ancient India. Now, tighten your belts, prepare yourself to hear what he has to say about the achievements of ancient India. He starts by asking that people of India know that ancient China was really advanced in ceramics and tea. But how many of Indians know that ancient India was so much advanced in metallurgy? People of India are never tired of admiring the Great Wall of China as a great achievement of ancient China. But how many of them know about the South Indian temples, which are great wonders of architecture, reveal in-depth knowledge of science, and are marvels of art? Why this could have happened? Partly because our ancient Indian history has not been very much preserved. Much of it, because there were no printing presses in ancient times. 9 lakh ancient manuscripts of India were burnt in Nalanda when the Muslim invaders had come and burnt that library. This is also because of the reason that Indians tend to look down upon their own achievements and heritage, and they tend to admire everything which is Western. But let us leave aside any bias on any side and try to analyze the reality based on facts, scientifically, and by application of reason. The world gives credit to Aristotle for first saying that the earth is spherical in about 3rd century BC. What is the truth? The truth is that Yagyavalkya of India, in his book Shatpath Brahman, written before 9th century BC, had given in great detail that the earth is spherical. He had also described the heliocentric system of planets, that earth and other planets revolve around the sun. He had also described the length of a year to about 365 and 6 hours, almost same what is being said today. If we start counting, there are hundreds and hundreds of examples, but I limit mostly to the examples given by Professor Huide. First of all, he asks us Indians that it's a question that demands introspection on the part of Indians. If Indians are not aware of their own ancient heritage, how can they expect others to appreciate their history and achievements? It's our collective responsibility to be aware of our history, take immense pride in it, and share these remarkable achievements with the world. Sharing the history contributes to the global understanding of India's contribution to the human achievements in the remote past. The remarkable achievements of ancient Indians are overshadowed by obscurity because very few read about them and very few propagate them to the world in an appropriate manner. Our ancestors invented numerous ways to improve the basic life of a commoner. The Indus Saraswati Valley civilization is renowned for its advanced sanitized drainage system. This was probably the first such system in the world. Lothal had the first dockyard in the world. How many of Indians know that it were the Indus Valley people of ancient India who had invented the flush toilet system from which all of us benefit today? It is just not about knowing the history. It's also about knowing the global impact of achievements of ancient Indians. We every day use rulers in our drawings, in our all activities, stitching, tailoring, drawings we use. But then, has anyone ever gone and announced to the world that a 4,400-year-old ruler was excavated from Lothal in India? And any other places have only created it later on. How many people know that buttons for stitching on the shirts were first invented by Indians and they have been found in excavations? All these things have become part of our daily life, but none knew who were the first inventors who gave these things to us to make our lives easier. The Indians repeatedly adore Chinese for being the first to weave Chinese dresses. How many of them know that Indians were the first to weave cotton thread and cotton dresses even 7,000 to 8,000 years back and samples have been excavated from Mehergarh? We use weighing scales every day. Who were the first inventors of weighing scales? They were the ancient Indians of Indus Saraswati civilization. These weighing scales, much similar to each other, have been excavated from Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, Dholavira, Kalibangan, Kunal, and so many other places which have been excavated. And these were extensively used by Indians for trade. We all use similar kind of weights and measures till date. Now let's come to yoga. What a wonderful way of keeping one fit and energetic. There is no other physical and mental exercise as good for the human being as is propagated and taught through yoga. People all over the world practice yoga. In particular, the supermodels, models, film stars, actors, and athletes regularly attend yoga sessions to keep themselves physically and mentally fit. Aryabhatta, Brahmagupta, and Bhaskaracharya were the three eminent mathematicians from ancient India who established the concept of zero as a mathematical value in different eras. Brahmagupta was the first to invent a symbol for zero, and Bhaskaracharya was the first to use it in algebra. I think today's science, today's physics, today's space research programs are all based on this great research done by ancient Indians. But how many Indians have gone and taken pride in this all over the world? And how many Indians have been taught this in their own schools and colleges by our governments or even by private schools and colleges? Ancient Indians were also the pioneers in the field of chemistry. The person who first invented the atomic theory was Acharya Kanad, who lived in ancient India. He explained the atomic theory using terms like Anu, that is atom, and Pramanu, that is nucleus. Ancient Indians were also advanced in medical science. The great physician of the time, Sage Sushruta, was the first to perform various kinds of surgeries, including plastic surgery and cataract surgery. He has described 300 surgical instruments along with surgical procedures in his book Sushruta Samhita. How many people know about Charak, who was there before 600 BC? He compiled Charak Samhita, which has prescribed the medicines for several medical problems, including in the field of physiology, embryology, digestion, immunity, pains, fevers, skin diseases, and many more diseases. The methods prescribed by him are still being used as the Ayurvedic treatments. Let me share one more fact from my own personal experience. I have always been going to one orthopedician for my bone problems. This orthopedician has been giving me very costly medicines, mostly produced by MNCs or foreign companies. And when I came and saw their details, they turned out to be all Ayurvedic formulas of charak. Like these contained the extract of shisham, curcumin from haldi, extract of moringa, and we Indians have not even developed those kind of medicines to sell in India and all over the world. In fact, recently, even in Supreme Court, the tone and tenor was that Indian medicines and Ayurvedic medicines were being looked down upon. They were never being almost used in India, or they had no regular system of being used in India 1953-54. And at that time all references to medicines were to allopathic medicines. But the hardest and the toughest of conditions were prescribed for the Ayurvedic medicines based on some law of 1953. That's what is happening, because we Indians, we Sanatan people, or we who call ourselves Indians from any religion, caste or tribe, have not looked at the advantages we have there, and we have not tried to use them and talk about the benefits we derived from them. Achievements of ancient India in the field of metallurgy were exceptional and outstanding. I don't think any other country of the world could give any competition in that area to India. In Indus Valley, ancient Indians were making copper items 8,000 years ago. Dr. Jarraj, a French archaeologist, excavated several items from Mehergarh which were dated 8,000 years ago. Subsequently, Dr. Tiwari, an eminent archaeologist from India, excavated Lohra Deva and he found copper arrowheads which were carbon dated as belonging to 7,000 years back. Thereafter, from Kunal, copper arrowheads dated 6,000 years back were excavated from Kunal by Dr. Mani. This progress in the field of metallurgy continued. The Chola dynasty of Tamil Nadu invented the method of producing the finest steel, and this was known as Wootz. This Wootz steel is sold all over the world, but not as a steel which originated from India. Rather, it is called Damascus steel. India had huge, marvelous monuments. Most of these are grand temples of South India. But how many of you know about these temples of South India, which were a perfect mixture of art, architecture, and science? Actually, the world knows India basically because of some such monuments, and that also about very few of them. We need to explore, visit, write about these grand temples which undoubtedly reveal the standard of art and architecture achieved by Indians much before the Muslims or the Christians came into existence. Let's take an example of Kailash Temple in Ellora. It is a masterpiece of architecture, a megalith constructed by cutting a single rock, not rock, say a single mountain, from the top to bottom to carve the entire temple complex. This temple was dedicated to Lord Shiva, and it was built by Rashtrakuta dynasty between 5th and 8th centuries AD. It is of epic proportions, a perfect combination of again art, architecture, and science. There are awe-inspiring sculptures, carvings, and structures there. Every inch of the temple has the finest of carvings. Thus, this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is also meeting place of Hindu, Buddha, and Jain philosophies. The carvings on the walls, on the pillars, have written complete stories of Ramayana and of many other ancient epics and literature. I have not heard of any other complex created anywhere in the world in this manner, by digging from the top to the bottom of a mountain and then creating a complex. Have a look at these carvings on the sides of staircase of this temple. These are the scenes from Ramayana, and these will tell you that how outrageously incorrect history was being taught to us by these leftists and Stalins and anti-Indians who told us in our childhood that Ram was not known in India, that this idea was created as an anti-British movement by the Hindus. I advise and request all of those pseudo-historians to go and visit this temple and see the scenes of Ramayana there, carved out in such a articulate and finest manner by the artists of that time, which was more than 1800 years ago. Perhaps the largest temple complex in India is Brihadishwar Temple, which is also UNESCO World Heritage Site. This is a temple located in the middle of Thanjavur in Tamil Nadu and was built by Chola dynasty. Between 1003 and 1010 AD to worship Lord Shiva. Many of the achievements of Raja Chola I have also been inscribed in this complex. It is the best example of Chola architecture. You know how many temples have Cholas built, and they are, each one of them is distinct, unique and superb. The Brihadishwar temple is a prime example of Dravidian architecture, characterized by its towering vimana and mandapa and intricate sculptural embellishments. One of the most intriguing mysteries surrounding Brihadishwar temple is its apparent lack of shadow. This optical illusion is attributed to the ingenious design of temple structure, where the arrangement of stones prevents the formation of distinct shadow. There is a very famous anecdote in this regard, which almost every tourist will listen from one or the other guide, that after the construction of the temple was completed by the architect, Raja Chola I came to visit and inquired about the stability of the temple structure. The architect proclaimed and replied to the king, "Even the shadow will not fall, Raja. Have a look at some of the images of this temple. See what a huge size, and all carved out of a stone like granite in those days. The temple has been crafted from interlocking the stones, which also means that each stone will fit in at a particular place only and cannot be fitted anywhere else. You will simply be awestruck once you visit this temple in the middle of Tanjavur in Tamil Nadu. Nestled in the middle of this temple is Mammoth Dome, weighing a staggering 80 tons, constructed entirely of granite and devoid of any modern engineering tools. This architectural marvel defies gravity. Everyone still wonders how could an 80-ton dome be kept at the top of that temple height in those days. Nobody has been able to answer this question. This also probably we needs to know from the successors of Karunanidhi, who used to ask who taught engineering to the people in the times of Rama, who could build a bridge, because he never admitted there is a Ram Setu. By now, the entire world knows that there is a Ram Setu, which is partially a natural formation and partially built 7,000 years back, that is Ramayana time. So all these temples also, they would have to ask who built, how were they built, because they needed a great architect, a great artist and a great scientist, because their mathematical proportions and their scientific concepts are superb and mind-boggling. Recently, a part of Brihadishwar temple was lighted with LED lights. These lights give to this temple part daylight like appearance even during night, and they create visual drama with light and shadow by selectively highlighting specific features of the structures, sculpture, murals and inscriptions. So these lights can play around and highlight one, hide another, highlight one, hide another. It is a scene worth watching. If you get time, I would request all of you to go and visit this temple. Which is probably the most wonderful creation as a temple in India. Professor Huide feels that it is Konark temple of Orissa. This temple was built by King Narasimha I of Ganga dynasty. About 1200 people worked for 12 years. A masterpiece of creative genius in both conception and realization. Konark temple represents a chariot of the sun, God, with 12 pairs of wheels drawn by 7 horses, evoking its movement across the heavens. On the north and south sides, there are 24 carved wheels, each about 3 meters in diameter, and symbolic motifs referring to the cycle of seasons and months. These complete the illusionary structure of the temple chariot. It is believed that the king wanted to build the temple to celebrate his victory over the Sultan of Delhi. It was built by on the seashore, which has now receded. Look at some of the images of this temple, and these images have been left after what was done to this temple. The main deity of Surya was created with iron mixed with stone and held using two massive magnets, one at the top and the other at the bottom. These magnets kept the idol of the sun deity suspended in the air. The magnets used were so powerful that they used to swerve the ships off the coast, misguiding the European sailors sailing on the seas. It is believed that those European sailors who eventually started controlling different parts of India removed the magnets and the deity. They stored gunpowder instead, which caught fire sometime later, and thus a major part of the temple and a major attraction of the temple was destroyed. The Vimana was surmounted by a high tower with a shikhara, crowning cap at the top, which was raised in the 19th century. You go and visit and you can very clearly see that something has been removed from the top, and the tower is still left behind. I can go on and on. There are any number of temples which have pillars creating sounds if you knock at them. These pillars are made of hard stones like sandstone, like granite, but how they are creating sounds? Some pillars create sare ga ma pa, others create sounds of tabla and harmonium and veena and whatnot. Nobody has been able to understand what was the knowledge for creating such sounds in pillars made of solid stone. I will only now like to conclude by saying ancient India was a hub of culture and technology and the absolute capital of world spirituality. I could talk about the achievements of ancient India for hours, nay, for days together. India is many things to many, but overrated is definitely not one of them. The achievements and grandeur of ancient India are in fact grossly underrated. All of us Indians should take a pledge that we will go and discover and visit such monuments in detail, write about them, and disseminate information worldwide. Before concluding, I would like to admire the huge efforts made by Mohan from South India, who has a YouTube channel and is also available on Facebook and one can follow. He has done wonderful research in these temples which is unmatched. I salute him and I wish there are more people like him. Thank you.